All right, let's take a quick look at center. I'm going to be playing this in the key of D. I'll show you some shapes and then some picking pattern things. So for the verse, R1 is going to be right here, just a regular C shape. Make sure your low E's muted with your thumb right there. And then for the 4, I'll do this. Or I can do this with the G on top. You could do a sus2 like that if you take your ring finger off. Then we got 6 minor. You can also do 6 minor 7 like this. That open G string. You can do 4 like this as well instead of doing the F in the bass. You can do C in the bass. And then it's just like a C suspended. It's pretty normal for C shapes. Your 5 chord is going to be the G like this. You can either do this or have your pinky here on the top G. Then you got your sus here. The other chord you'll use a lot is the E minor shape. You can do E minor 7 like that. And those are pretty much the chords that you'll be using for the song. As far as picking pattern stuff, you've got a couple options here. In the recording, they're just using finger picking, which if you're switching between finger picking and strumming, if you're like more advanced, you can hide your pick like in your pinky and then have it ready to come back out on the other parts. Just takes a little bit of coordination and getting used to being able to hide it and then bring it back out. So you could pick like that, and then you would get the more like natural sound of your fingers. That. You could hybrid pick it, where you have your pick here, and then you could make sure that you're playing your bass note softly, and then pick the rest of it like this. I didn't play that bass note super softly. When you're doing that, you just got to make sure that the volume, you're not getting a lot more volume, you know, if it's like this. It's not going to sound super consistent to have your bass note come out really hard with the pick and then the rest of it come out soft. When you hybrid pick, you lose your index finger to be able to pick, and that's one of your main picking things. So that's the downside of hybrid picking. Or if you don't want to do either of those things, you can just pick the whole thing and you just kind of have to aim carefully on the strings. It's a little bit easier to do that if you're not used to finger picking. One of the biggest things with finger picking, and a lot of times when you're trying it, you're missing strings. Pre-decide how many strings you're going to use in your pattern. So you have like a 4-string pattern like this, where you're outside, 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 outside. When I mean outside, I just mean like the bass note and the highest note. That's like the 1, and then I'm using the middle strings to kind of vamp. Outside, 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 outside. Same with the 4. Outside. You know, you could do, if you do 3 strings, let's just skip and just decide that it's this. I think this is what they do in the recording. You could just do bass, bass. So you're doing bass on the downbeat. Yeah, you could throw some other things in there. Like that. And then on the chorus, you're going to just pick it up and do 16ths. That, something like that. So you really just got to decide what your shape is going to look like. So once you kind of get in the rhythm of what shapes you're making and deciding how you're going to pick it, your hand just kind of falls into place once you know what you're going to do. Might be easier if you, sometimes you can like mount with your right hand, you can sort of mount so that it's all the same. You make sure it's more accurate when you mount either like your palm. If your hand's like floating without being mounted to anything, sometimes it's harder to like hit the notes and make sure that you're accurate with it. Other people use their pinky, like you can use your pinky right here to make sure your hand, it's like a little kickstand for when you're picking. One thing on that chorus pattern that I just played a bunch that I would probably be more intentional about is knowing what string, when you're doing the faster chord changes at the beginning of the phrase, you might not want to play your upper strings when you're doing that last part, because if you pick it, let me show you the thing I'm talking about. If you're going like this, that string that you just fretted right there is not going to ring out when you play your 5 because you're playing open. So when you're transitioning, see on that one I played an open string so that when I changed the shape, the string is still ringing out. So it can sound a little bit more consistent and less choppy when you choose strings that are going to be open if you're going to an open shape like the 5. Like that. Other than that, you're following a lot of dynamics of the drums. Once you get to the refrains, oh how I love you, strum pattern. The bridge is going back to the 8th note. Glory my heart. And then eventually, lightly with the pattern. And then obviously when you're big on the last bridge. When in doubt, just follow what the drums are doing. If the drums are building, you can match that. Other than that, for the rest of the song, just be intentional with when the hits are. You know, leave space for the hits. You know, you're playing with the band dynamically there. So just put all that together and work on the pick.